Hello, everybody. My name is Mianda, and I'll be facilitating this session today. Just wait for a little bit more people to join. I think they're good. Okay, so a little introduction. I am from Zimbabwe, but I live in Angola, and I am currently working with an organization called Earth Echo International on campaigning for the 30x30 goal in a local context. So today we're doing a session titled, How do we foresee 30x30 targets being met in Africa? And basically what we will be looking at is discussing about how do we feel and what do we think about the implementation of this goal in our continent, and drawing on the knowledge that we've gained from all the panelists here today. So just a few things. Today we'll be making use of what we call a jam board. I've dropped the link in the chat, and I will also share my screen. But basically a jam board is a place where we can document all our ideas. So please, if you could open the link that I've just sent to the chat and have it open throughout the session so that we can contribute. Okay, I'm starting to see people come in, that's good. So can you see my screen? Let's see the chat. Okay, good. So this is the Jamboard. I'll just give you a basic background on like how it works. So we'll be just typing in ideas from the discussions that we've had here today. And you can see that there's sticky notes. And to type, all you have to do is click one of them and a sticky note will appear, and then you can just type and then save. Just one quick reminder is that if there's an icon that pops up next to a sticky note, that means that somebody's already typing there. So just try to avoid typing over somebody's work because we want to hear all your ideas. So that's pretty much it for the Jamboard and how to use it. Last thing is that this Jamboard will be up throughout the webinar, the seminar, and also at the end beyond this summit. So it's a good idea to come back and add more ideas as we go along. And it will be up, I think, throughout the end of next week as well. So to start off with a discussion, okay, that's good. I can see someone's icon here. So I have a starting question that I could ask you guys, and then from then on, you guys can pose questions in the Q&A chat box so that you guys as attendees will also be able to answer them. So this works as a discussion. There are no more panelists. You guys are the experts now, and basically people can bring forth questions to the group related to the topic that we're discussing, and then if you want to answer it, you can either raise your hand and we can bring you on stage to share your thoughts, or you can also type it into this Jamboard here. So I'm just going to start off with a basic question just to get you guys started and to get the idea of what we're going to be talking about today. So as a youth from Africa, from the discussions from yesterday, how are you feeling about the implementation of 30x30 targets in Africa, across Africa? So the question is, how do you feel? How do you feel about the implementation of these goals? And feel free to write on the Jamboard, as well as use the Q&A function in the chat box to share your ideas. And you can also raise your hand. So are we feeling like this is a realistic goal? Do we think that it's too ambitious? Do we think that it has potential? Is it a priority? So I'd love to hear your thoughts about how you're feeling about the implementation of this goal. And you can also type on these sticky notes because we'd love to share ideas. Oh, I see we have one raised hand. And bring Jabu onto stage. Hi.
Oh, sorry. Oh, hello.
Hello.
With the 30 by 30, I actually don't have an answer. I have a question, more question. That
Great.
is, that is there a collective, like a collective agenda that African countries has on what do they want? Do they want this 30 by 30, or do they want to protect 20% or what? So I think that should come from, I don't know whether that can come from the youth, or as I saw also there were a discussion from African negotiators. So I didn't hear very well on what is Africa, what does Africa want? So
Mhm.
yeah, so I
So
cannot say.
does anyone want to go ahead and try and answer that question from any youth experts that we have? Is there a collective agenda by African governments about this 30x30 goal? I know that some countries, like we had in the presentation earlier this morning, that some of them are allowed to join different groups, such as the High Ambition Coalition, to like basically rally and sign different agreements. But I'm not sure about in specific respective countries if they have plans to do that. So does anyone want to come to the stage, go in the chat box, as well as type on this Jamboard to answer this idea? Mm-hmm. And I'm seeing some ideas that are popping up on the Jamboard too. Someone says that it is possible, but it must be tailored to our individual communities. I like this idea a lot.
Sorry, I'm happy to leave the stage now. Thank you.
Okay, so let's have more people contributing to this Jamboard as well. So we have some different ideas here on the Jamboard already, if you guys can see it, saying that, responding to the question that I posed, that how are we feeling about this goal? So someone says that it is possible, but it must be tailored to our individual communities, which I fully agree. And another person is saying that we're culturally diverse and our approach differs, but the bottom line is common. So if we can allow people to tailor their own solutions, then it's go time. I like this idea a lot. Mm-hmm. And can see more people joining the Jamboard. That's good. So continue to add your ideas and also pose questions like Njaburo did. Hi, Sandhya.
Hi guys.
Hello.
So I'm sorry, I may have missed quite a bit. I was answering a door, but I have a comment down here. So we'll use South Africa as an example. We set our target when we increased our marine protection we set the target to 20% by 2020. We're already a year later, and we still have just over 5%. And we're already committing to 30% by 2030. But we still have to achieve this 2020 commitment and then move on to the 30 by 30%. So what that alludes to me is that it is too ambitious, and realistically we cannot achieve it. But then we need ambitious goals like that, so that you have something that drives you to a certain goal, and you are always driven to achieve that goal no matter how late you are into it, rather than having no goal at all. Also, what I want to add there, I think I agree with these comments. We need to tailor these what do you say, goals or commitments to different communities or different locales. So what works for a certain area will not work for another area. So different territories have to have different goals and different um, methods to achieve those goals, basically. So hence why I say we need to collaboratively work as different stakeholders. You have community managed park areas, which are very good. You have nationally managed park areas, which are good, and all those contribute to protection of the marine space. So there is no formula that fits all. Yeah.
I definitely agree that we need to tailor it to specific communities, and it is very ambitious, but that is a good driving force to it. So we have another question in the Q&A box. Could we bring it up onto screen? Okay. I see this to be another policy that may not even be implemented. Why? I believe our continent most often sign up to policies that they aren't prepared for. So at the end of the day, the fine policies are placed in the archives. So does anyone want to share any thoughts on this statement here that was just shared? I think it's quite a strong statement and that it could lead for some discussion. So would anyone like to say a few words or maybe add to the Jamboard as well about, do you think that this policy is just one of the ones that will be implemented, or do you think that it will just be signed but not even, and no action will be taken? Does anyone want to come up on stage and maybe talk about that? Well, I can start off by saying that I think I understand where she's coming from, that I think that's why it's important for the youth in Africa to take action, to hold these governments and people who are signing policies accountable so that they can take action. So we must be, exactly, I really agree with Samuel here, that we must hold them accountable. So we need to be aware of the policies that they're signing up for and making sure that they stick up to them and hold up to them. So I'd love for you guys to add more ideas to this Jamboard as we go along. Please take notes and write your ideas so that we can all have everybody contributing. Because you guys are the experts now and you've all watched these presentations, so I'd love to hear your voices. Okay. So another question that I have for the group, if anyone wants to come up and talk about it, as well as go into the Q&A and ask more questions about, or show any opinions or write on the Jamboard. The next question I have is, so it's back to kind of connecting to the question that I asked earlier. We kind of touched on it, but do you think that this goal is realistic? And if it is unrealistic, what do you think is a realistic goal? Or is it like Sandile, and you think it's unrealistic, but it is good to be unrealistic because we need to put pressure on people? So please write on the Jamboard. So we have a new addition here. It says, I was very touched by the speakers on day one. I agree that we need certain parts of our environments that remain untouched, but we need to get people to live in harmony with nature. We protect 30%, and what will happen with the rest of the 70%? I agree. I think that 30x30 is definitely, 30% is definitely like a starting point to this goal. And with the youth here today, we can definitely rally for more support throughout these countries. So, and we also have another one here that I didn't actually get to. We need a holistic approach, integrating human and nature in our targets. This is kind of related to what they said. So we need to make sure that we live in harmony with nature in order to set these targets, because sometimes it's unrealistic for people to put aside so much area in their communities. So does anyone else have another question, another opinion that they want to share? I'd love to hear you guys' voices. So back to the question I asked, if it's unrealistic, what do you think? Oh, we have another raised hand from Sandile again.
Hi guys, it's me again. So, Miranda, I like your question, and I do not have, well, you know my answer to it. So I'd like to add another question on top of that question. So that is, I'm worried about, so even though I understand the need for our goals and targets to be very ambitious, I'm also worried about who manages these parts. So I know I touched on a point of different kinds of management as well, but then maybe I should be rephrasing and saying, how effective is our protection? So we've now set aside this 30%, and we've proclaimed this protection, or these areas of protection, and it measures up to 30%, maybe continental or in different national waters. We have 30% in those areas. But then, how effective are they, firstly? And who will manage them and ensure that they are effective? So, uh, how I see this is it's a never ending job. And at certain times, people often lose the will to continue with it because if you'll get a park that's functionally active and effective for 10 years and then funds dry out for managing it, and then 2 years down the line it's back to what it was 12 years ago. So how do we then carry that momentum once you've started it and then carry it forever? Thank you.
That's a very good question, and I see we have two raised hands, so we'd like to bring them on. Maybe you guys have an answer for that question or an opinion. Hi.
Hi, can I go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Good. I'm glad that you can hear me now because earlier I battled. I did hear Sandile's statement, or should I say the question. I think whilst he's talking, I'm thinking to myself that it's very strange because even with our coastal MPAs, we seem to be battling, making sure that the law is enforced and that the MPA is doing what it should be doing, you know.
Mhm.
So the concern now is that we setting this big goal for which is a global target, which is 30%. And yes, we might worry ourselves about who will be making sure that that is well managed. And whilst we're also battling with what is happening currently. So maybe yeah, I think it's just for us to even have faith that this 30% protection will become a success. How about we start by seeing things happening here in our local areas, seeing that our MPAs are really being implemented correctly, and that all the policies, are drawn into a point where everybody's happy, if I may put it that way, and everything is well managed before we can even bother much about what's going to happen to the 30%, because we
Mhm.
need to start here before we can dream further. But that's just my two cents.
So, and building off of that, just a follow-up question to what you were saying is, do you think that the time scale of 30x30 is effective? Do you think that by 2030, if we do your approach and start off on a small scale before building it up to a large scale, do you think that the time scale will still work out for 2030?
Is that for me, Mianda?
Yeah, it's for you.
I don't know, sister. I will just say only time will tell. And then it's just a matter of working together with those policymakers and people that are involved in making all these decisions. So hence I'm
Mhm.
saying only time will tell. And then that the
Exactly.
funds are corrected to the right channels.
Mhm. Thank you so much. So we have Bardi you can bring on stage.
Uh, Hello.
Hello.
Get me? Okay. I think a realistic year would be relative because uh, first of all we have to look at some especially some countries prior to the signing up to the 30 by 30 goal. For me, for instance, I'm from a country Liberia. I'm from a country where we are a coastal nation, but my concern now is are we prepared, or are we just signing up to this big goal? Liberia isn't a country where we have more people involved, more professional when it comes to ocean management, marine management, and stuff like that. So I think some countries share similar reality of Liberia. Some countries in Africa share similar reality of Liberia. So my concern mainly has to do with prior to signing up to the goal. uh, is the continent actually prepared for it? Do we have the professionals and to help manage these projects that these goals that we are signing up to, or are we still going to call on people to come and manage it for us? So for me, those are concerns we have to raise, because to manage this thing, you have, first of all, to encourage someone to manage, you have to make me to get used to it. You have to make me to know it, because it will become a very new ball game for all of us. To say, okay, we have other things that we think about conserving. Now you're asking us to conserve the marine environment. Uh, how
Mhm.
realistic it is? How will you convince people, especially people that don't know what you are saying? People have never seen a professional in such a field, because it tends to be a very new ball game for that nation. So like. So sometimes our decision makers, when they go sign up to these to these policies, sometimes I wonder if they do their assessment well, to know of, is the country fully prepared, or we are just signing up because we see all of African nations signing up to it. You can compare South Africa with some country in West Africa. They are ready for it? Do we have the capacity to do it, or we are just following because we see other countries signing up to it? So that's why I say it's a very simple thing, but the realistic aspect of it is relative to nations. So I don't want to give a clear answer to say, okay, it's realistic or it's not realistic.
Mhm. Yeah, I understand your position, and I think these are really good concerns to have. Not only that the goal is about protecting these oceans, but the country has to have institutions to protect them. So I think these are really good ideas. I would love for you to add them to the jam board so that we have more participation there. And I think, do you have anything else you would like to say?
No.
Okay, great. Zamo can come up now.
Hi everyone.
Hi, Zamo.
Um, so I don't know. This is just I'm just looking at things from a bird's eye view. Just looking at events that we've had that I've been seeing happening around Africa and in South Africa. I think it's only realistic when it's in the hands of the people. I'm not sure if you have any government representatives, and this is no offense, but many of us are starting to lose faith in our governments. And the only way that things can go forward is when they are in the hands of people to drive forward. Um, and I'm also even thinking communities, and if management can can be driven by communities and be privatized instead of relying on the state to provide management of these MPAs, because then it'll take forever. We
Mhm.
just hold them to their word and the commitments that they made, and then we provide that. But I know that it's going to be expensive. But if we as communities go out to people who have these wallets to advance protection worldwide, I'm sure they can help us out. But I just don't know how we can go about doing that. But just from this summit alone, all of us gathered here and all these youth groups, I think we all have the power to hook each other up. It's ambitious, but I do believe that it is possible if you all come together. And just looking at what happened in South Africa with what took place in July, and people having to protect communities from people who were driven by whatever it was that they were driven by. No judgment there. I don't know the other side of the story, but it was communities who had to step up and protect their own. So I think that's a small thing that speaks to the bigger picture. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that position. I think that most people here would definitely agree that it's in the hands of the people mostly. We're the ones we can count on and depend on, and we should find ways so that we can integrate them in this movement. So thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
Oh, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, I encourage you to also add your ideas to the Jamboard, everyone, so that we can have these ideas. Njaburo.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Uh, so the question was, is this 30 by 30, can it be achievable, or is it over ambitious? Was that the question, right?
Yes, that was the question.
Yeah. So I think the 30 by 30, it it can be achievable, but in a different rate in different countries in Africa, because I think we are also still dealing with a lot of other issues in some African countries. There is a lot of poverty. So when you are poor and have nothing to eat, you don't think about protecting the fish. You first think about your stomach, what I need to eat first. Then think about later about protecting the fish, you see. And also, if people can get access to see what are we saying they must protect, you know, there are some places where you can live next to a nature reserve, you see, but you will never, you grow up your whole life without seeing a rhino inside the nature reserve. So because some people have money, have access to those places, you know, they have better understanding, they can access those places. But the people who don't have money, but they still live next to the nature reserve, they still live to the next to these places, they don't have access. So I think yeah, it can be achieved. And also, uh, things are getting better. More youth are getting more access to technology. They are getting more knowledge. So with our generation, maybe our next generation, we can have more youth that are more conscious about nature. And yeah, I think, yeah, over time it can be achieved. Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think that's something that we struggle with, and us as youth are also trying to fight, is that people have this out of sight and out of mind mindset when it comes to the ocean. They look at their immediate concerns. So I think that it's a matter of seeing what are your priorities as well. So let's go to the Jamboard and see if we have more ideas. Yes, we do. So here he said, give people better livelihoods and they will start to care about nature. Yeah, this is true. I definitely think that in a lot of countries, they might not see the ocean as a priority. They don't see the physical returns from protecting it, maybe, and it would be a long-term investment as well. And then we have here that with privatizing management of these areas where physically set aside, we physically set aside our tax funds work better. This is also kind of what Samo touched on, where we try and give power to the people rather than making the government take care of these areas. And maybe that helps us in managing and prolonging the life of these marine protected areas. So does anyone have any more ideas to share? And if not, I can try and pose one more question to the group as the session is about to come to an end. Okay, lastly, just the final question, if anyone has any ideas, is that how do we go about starting? Like, what is the first starting point of meeting these targets? So I think a lot of people touched on this, that we should start with the people and empower different communities. But I'd love to hear someone's thoughts about this. So how do we start? What is the starting point for approaching 30x30 here in Africa? So you guys can add to the Jamboard or raise your hands as well. And also write in the chat. We have a raised hand from Nancy. Hi, Nancy.
Hello. Can I? Because I have internet issues.
You can hear you. Hello?
Hello, can I be heard?
Yes, you're kind of breaking up a bit.
Okay, sorry, I have internet issues, but you asked about the starting point for the 30 by 30 being met in Africa, and immediately I thought of my country. So I come from Tanzania, and when you speak about my country, and I will say this respectively, there are marine scientists like us and young people, like very few young people, I could tell, who are advocating for safe oceans. However, our oceans are not a priority in my country. So I think for my country, when I think of 30 by 30, the first thing it will be, we are going to need to spread awareness further, especially to other young people like us, but also to the communities who are the most affected, especially the local communities. However, to me, I think it's too ambitious. But yes, when we come together, it is very possible that we can achieve this. But awareness, awareness has to be done, and it's going to need collaborations, especially amongst we African countries. It's going to need one voice, and we're going to need collaboration to stand together in order to achieve this. But awareness is what I see. That is the first thing, awareness. What is installed for the people with the 30 by 30? Why is it important? To make people care about it. That's how we are going to make everyone to move together. Yes, those are my thoughts.
Mhm. Thank you so much. I definitely agree. And I think that is a good place to end off this discussion, that we should start at awareness. And I think this summit has helped you guys learn a little bit more about 30x30 and hopefully spread it across your different countries and start raising awareness in different communities. And with that, we have reached the end of our time for this session. I'll stop sharing the screen. So thank you so much for participating in this discussion. I really loved hearing your ideas. And remember that the Jamboard is up till through the next week, so it will end on Friday. So please feel free to come back to it, add different ideas. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And we can have a place where you can document all these ideas from youth across Africa. So thank you so much, and it was a pleasure hearing all your opinions.